Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my personal goals. For whatever reason, it feels like it's been a long time since I filmed this video, like one of these, but it really is something I do every single month, and it's about the same time every month. It's a little early this month because of just how the timing of the days of the week and my ability to film now that I have a daughter, etc. So it is February 21st. So there's still a whole week left in February, but honestly, I feel very okay and ready to talk about my February goals in this video and then the goals that I have already set for March. So let's start there. Let's talk about my February action steps. I set a lot of them. I filled up every single line in the one-time action step section, and I achieved all but one of them. So that first one is the one at the top, and that was to finish December daily. Now to start, it may have been slightly overambitious just to say finish in general, without even really considering how much time it was going to take me. But when I set up my February goals, I had 0 plans in February. Let me take that back. We had 1 set of show tickets for February. Otherwise, we had no plans with anybody, no dinner, nothing, no additional plans. And so I thought, I will have plenty of time and it will be cold and I won't want to be outside and I will finish my December daily. So part of it was plans got made. It's not like we were gonna not do anything for the month of February. So obviously plans got made. And then it actually has been a lot nicer than I anticipated in February. And so we've been going for walks and doing things outside and spending impromptu time with my family, which is also a different shift. We've been in Chicago for almost a year, but it's still a shift that I'm having to get used to, because when we lived in New York, yes, we would do some impromptu plans, but it's not the same as the impromptu plans that happen with my family. They happen a lot more often. And so I didn't finish December daily. And I think by writing the word finish, and now that I'm saying this out loud, this always happens, y'all. When I film these videos, I get something out of them. I think by writing the word finish, I may have set myself up for failure, because as soon as I realized I wasn't going to finish, I think I probably mentally gave up. I never said that out loud, but I probably in my head thought it. And yet here we are, spoiler alert, I wrote finish for March. But I did, you'll see when we get to March, I added another step to hopefully get me in a better place for March. So that is the only action step, the only one-time step in February that I did not complete. The next 3 were to schedule all of these various doctor's appointments, so a dentist, a vision, and pelvic floor. I scheduled all of them. That's why they're checked off, because that was the action step. You'll see in March, I have to reschedule the dentist, so that is on my March list. But for vision and pelvic floor, not only did I schedule them, but I've actually been going. And so that has been really awesome. So I feel really good about that goal. And by going, I didn't go to the vision doctor more than once. I went one time. Pelvic floor therapy, I've been going consistently. The next 2 action steps were related to our travel goals. So the first one was to get a packing list going. And well, for me, I have had my packing list for myself created for a long time, but I updated a couple things. I added some things, cut some things out, etc. And then I created a packing list for Lila, which is just bananas to me. And I actually think it'll make it easier. I'm packing for her to stay at my mom's this week and one of the nights this weekend. And so I can use that packing list. And what's nice is that at my mom's, she obviously already has some stuff. So like pack and play, I'm gonna cross that off. But then when we're going to New York, I'm going to have to rent that and figure out how to, get a pack and play. I'm pretty sure our Airbnb in New York isn't coming with pack and play. But you understand what I'm saying. I have a packing list of everything that Lila could possibly need, and I'm sure I will add some stuff to it as time goes on. But then depending on where we're going, she may already have some stuff, and so I can just cross off what doesn't apply. I don't know why I elaborated on that. Next one was to organize all of our travel info. So all of our rewards numbers for the various airlines are known traveler numbers for TSA PreCheck. And then I also organized all of the upcoming trips that we have. So what are our record locator numbers for those upcoming trips, because some of them I booked with points. And so some of them, like one of our trips, I think it's our trip to Houston, Sam, myself, and Lila are all on 3 separate record locators, because we all booked because I booked each of them separately. Whereas like another trip, we're all on the same one. It really depends on the trip. And then some trips have hotels. And so I have that reservation number, etc. But I got all that info organized. And so that feels really good. The next action step, one-time step, was to make a monthly task plan. And I feel really good about this. So in January, the action step was to just make the list. I made the list of all the things that I want to do around the house monthly. I totally forgot to say at the beginning, if you haven't watched my quarterly goals video, that really helps clarify some of these things. So the quarterly goal is to get on top of the monthly tasks, the things that have to happen around our house every single month. So in January, I made the list. Here are the things that we need to do. In February, and I did some of them, not all of them, but I did some of them. In February, I sort of organized them a little bit better, and based on a recommendation from one of you, I actually kind of grouped them by weeks. So like here are the couple, and it's like basically 2 or 3 per, no, maybe it's more like 3 or 4 per week. Here are the ones I would do week 1, week 2, so on and so forth, and kind of made a general plan. So that feels good. And you'll see in March how I'm gonna actually start tackling the execution of said plan. The next one-time step was to utilize our registry discount before it expired and buy a bunch of stuff that we were going to need in the next phase, the next 6 to 12 month phase. And I did that. I finished that this past weekend. That was the last action step that I checked off. The next one was to send the monthly summary email. I did that. That was like the first one I checked off because it was the first week of the month. And then the last action step, one-time step, was to clean up Plan to Eat. And that feels good. I sort of moved things around a little bit. I had this recommendation from one of you based on how I cook things as opposed to like protein or even, I don't know, I didn't really have anything organized. I kind of just had dinner all in one category, but now I have it kind of like sheet pan dinners, and then I have crock pot meals, and then I have one pot like on the stovetop meals, and I kind of have them split up that way. And then I also deleted a couple of meals, either things that we hadn't tried that I was like, if I haven't tried it at this point, it's been in my Plan to Eat for how long, I'm not gonna even attempt it, and I'm just gonna delete it. And then I deleted a couple that were based on some dietary changes in our household that I no longer are meals that we're gonna make, so I deleted those. And then I added a new category that was like a someday category. Some things that like in this phase of life, I'm not gonna worry about this recipe, but I don't wanna lose it for forever. So I cleaned all that up. I haven't really been using it, but when I'm ready to get back into it, it's there for me. So those were the one-time steps. Again, I looked at this and was like, I can't believe you set 10, but the fact that I did 9 of the 10 feels really good because I also, guess what, set 10 for March. So the weekly steps. One thing I forgot to mention, I wanted to say at the beginning of the video, is I have been sharing my progress on my goal trackers during the weekly lives. So if you have never watched one of my weekly lives, or you used to watch them back when they were just Q&As, they've changed this year. So at the beginning, I share my book updates, where I'm at with reading, what books I finished that week and what books I'm currently reading. And then I share my goal update. So where am I at? I show literally a picture of this that I take the morning of where I'm at with my goals for the month. And then I also have a topic each week, and I give like teaching points on a specific topic. And then I also have started including the timestamps down in the description. So if you just want to see part of that, you don't want to stay for the Q&A, or you just want to see the goals update, you can click to just that timestamp. So if you want to see updates on my goals throughout the month, that's where they are. But I don't go as in depth on my thoughts on those updates, partially because then I feel like it would be really repetitive if I told you all my thoughts and then filmed this video. But I do share some thoughts, and one of those thoughts I shared is that the weekly steps for me this month were unnecessary. I was gonna do these anyways. The first one was going to swim class. I literally paid for the whole month of February. Like, of course we were gonna go. There was never, like, I mean, not necessarily, of course. Obviously, if she got sick or I got sick or something happened, we could have skipped a swim class. But I didn't need a check mark on a piece of paper for us to go to swim class every week. So there's that. The next weekly step was to do a meal plan. And this one may be less so than swim class, but I still didn't do it because of the weekly check mark. I did it because I'm back in the rhythm of meal planning and back in the rhythm of cooking at home, which is really the step that I needed to then meal plan. To me, I know that's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario, but for me, it was really like, okay, I'm ready to cook at home. Now I can actually plan meals. So that I've also been doing consistently, and it's been fine. Moving into the daily items, they've also been going well. So I will say, I struggled a little bit at the beginning with the fact that I added 2 daily items both to my morning routine. And I know I talked about this in last month's video that I was possibly setting myself up to struggle, and I did. At the beginning, I lumped them together in my mind and it was kind of an all or nothing. I either did both of them or I did neither of them. And it didn't take me very long to get over that and be like, Laken, you can do just one of them. You could do just one of the steps. They don't have to be lumped together. So I finally separated them in my mind. Part of it too is I moved them around in my morning routine so they weren't right next to each other. That helped too. So my I am statements, I did all but 4 of the days. So that feels really good. And nonfiction, same thing, not the same 4 days, but all but 4 of the days. So that also feels really good. And for the reading nonfiction, it's not like I've been doing a lot. It's 5 to 10 minutes in each of those sessions. 10 minutes is the max. And part of that is because not because I'm not enjoying the books that I'm reading, but it's from a priority standpoint right now, that is what I can commit to. And I'm still making progress on the nonfiction books that I'm reading. So I'm glad that I started that one. And then the last daily item was to track finances, which I had in January and just carried over to really solidify. And I did, and that feels good. I feel like I finally got into or back into really the finance routine from last year, Laken, the year before last, where I felt comfortable skipping the weekends. Like I don't need to check finances on the weekends. I did do it, okay, I did one of the weekend days, probably because I was sitting down to work at my computer anyways, and then just playing catch up on Monday morning. Mentally knowing that Monday morning is going to require a little bit more work, and that's okay to not have to worry about tracking over the weekends. So that was February. All in all, I feel really good. Just like January, I feel like I'm figuring it out this year. And not that I haven't achieved my goals in the past, because I absolutely have, but I think I was very nervous to figure out how to set goals and feel good about that with a new baby. And I feel like I've been figuring it out. So let's talk about March. So like I said, in March, I have 10 one-time steps again, but some of them are very small and some of them are repeats, and we do have plans in March, but I feel good about my progress here. The other thing about March that is unique is in my brain, March has 5 weeks. So if you notice on I don't necessarily want to spoiler alert these, but on the weekly section in my goals planner, which by the way, I feel like I don't need to say this because I feel like if you're here watching this video, you know this. This is my goal planner. I created this. You can grab it in the description. It's always there. It is printable. I love it. Okay, so there's 5 weeks. That is because the weeks that overlap 2 months. Some people choose to start their month that week and some people choose to not. So it really depends for me where the week falls. And so in February, I started this week of January 29th, and in my mind that was February. Now, the irony is I do that for the weekly and I don't always do it for the daily. I did it in February. I am going to do it in March. And so after this weekend happens, even though it will only be February 26th, this piece of paper is going to go away. I'm gonna swap it out for my March one and I'm gonna start tracking. But then in March, I am gonna use all 5 weeks. I'm going to use the week of March 25th, which is actually my birthday. My birthday's on a Monday this year. It's not as fun. And so I felt like even though we had plans in March, I could be a little bit more ambitious and set more goals in March. We'll see how it goes. So the first one is to, once again, finish December daily. When we get to the daily section, I'm gonna talk about how I'm actually going to achieve that goal this month. The next 3 are back to the doctor's appointment. So the first one is to reschedule my dentist appointment. What I did, which in theory was good in my head and then it ended up backfiring a little bit, is I scheduled the pelvic floor and the eye appointment and the dentist all on Thursdays because that was a day we didn't have something else going on. I didn't have a work thing I needed to do. And so I felt like that was a safe day. And so the first one I went to was my pelvic floor therapy. And then she was like, hey, I want to see you every single week and let's just do the same time if that works for you. And I was like, yeah, it works for me. Not realizing that I had a dentist appointment scheduled for that same time, like a few weeks down the road. So I need to move that dentist appointment. Anyways, again, with the over explaining. And then the next 2 are an allergist and a dermatologist. which once I check those 2 off, I will complete the quarterly goal of all of my doctor's appointments. These 2, I'm hoping to get referrals from, I'm seeing a primary care physician next week. So I'm hoping to get referrals for those 2 next week from the filming of this video, not from you watching this video. So I'm hoping to get referrals from her for those 2 doctors. My husband found a dermatologist and their first availability was October. That is just mind-blowing to me. And so even if that is the case and I can't get in with the dermatologist until later in the year, that's fine. That's why the quarterly goal was to schedule the appointments, not to execute on all the appointments. All right, the next one-time step is to decide if we're gonna change swim schools. So I can't remember if I truly talked about this because our January action step was to pick a swim school. And there was one that I kind of liked better, but they didn't start lessons till 6 months. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do the other one, my second choice, because they started at 4 months. And then when she turns 6 months, we'll do a free class at the other one. Not the first week of March, but the second week, we're going to do a trial class at the 6-month place and then decide, I will make a decision on which one. That is another one of those action steps that probably will happen regardless of it being there, but it's a check mark and I'm here for it. The next one is to start working on our New York City plans. I did not write the word finish because I don't anticipate finishing them, but we need to start talking about them because we need to buy show tickets if we're gonna go see shows while we're there. And by if, I mean which shows or how many. We're actually going to New York for 6 days, which I'm very excited about. And my mom and stepdad are coming with us, and we got an Airbnb for all of us, so that way we have our own space. Lila has her own room, etc., as opposed to just staying with friends. In the past, when we go to New York, we stay with friends, but with the new baby, that was not gonna, I guess she won't be that new at that point, but you know what I mean. We're also going to New York for a wedding, and so having my parents there to watch her at least the night of the wedding, that is the plan that is set in stone. I do also hope that we go see at least one show while we're there. And so if we need to figure that out and start to look at tickets, and then also start to make plans with our friends that live in New York and start to map out what that time looks like. What are the things that my mom and stepdad want to do? Like, you know, just figuring out the New York trip. I don't anticipate that we're going to finish it in March, but I want to start talking about it and at least think about it and get tickets if necessary. All right, the next action step is, again, the monthly email, monthly summary money email. This is another action step I probably didn't need to put down. I probably will just do it. When I'm tracking and I have the numbers, I like want to send them to him. I want to send him the summary, but I just talked about this actually on today's live, the day I'm filming this. I sometimes like to give myself a second month of an action step just to really solidify it. Even if I did a good job and I feel like I could do it, it really just puts it in stone and gives me maybe an easy win, but maybe not. And sometimes you just don't know until you try taking something on or off your goal sheet. All right, let's talk about the monthly tasks. So like I said, I made the list in January. In February, I grouped them together. And I think there's like 14 on my list. And so I was trying to decide, how am I gonna tackle this in terms of action steps? I'm not gonna write them all out individually because I have other goals and there's not enough space for that. And I don't wanna write down, do all of them, because that feels over ambitious, and like I'm not gonna go from doing some of however many I did this month to all of them next month. And then I didn't want to just do some monthly tasks. I wanted to get more specific. So I picked 10. There is no rhyme or reason. It was a pretty number. It's about 70% of them, and that feels like a good number. So my goal is to do 10 of the monthly tasks on the list. And if I do 10, then I get the check mark. The next one-time step is to go through the cookbooks and first off, make sure that I actually still want that cookbook. When I organized the kitchen, I didn't declutter them. I just like kind of put them away. And so I want to first go through them and remind myself of the ones that I have. And then maybe, we'll see, is go through them and actually like sticky note some things. I did this with 2 of my favorite cookbooks. I actually talked about it in a vlog, and I love that I can just pull it out and be like, this is the week. It makes meal planning nowadays so much easier. And there's at least one, my Trader Joe's cookbook, and maybe another one on my shelf that I want to do the same thing with. So at least go through them, maybe declutter, and then maybe sticky note some of them. We'll see how it goes. And then the last one-time action step, y'all. This means my little girl's growing up. So I set a quarterly goal to organize the kitchen. And I finished it in January and it felt really good. Like I was like, our kitchen's in good shape. I love where everything is. It's perfect. And then I realized that we needed to order a bunch of new things for my daughter to start eating solid food. We needed bowls and spoons and plates and cups and all of the kid related eating things. And now I'm like, where are those going to go? So I need to figure out, I think I know which cabinet I'm gonna mess with to put the baby stuff in, but I haven't not finalized that and I haven't even started it. I haven't washed any of it either. It's all like in a box on the floor in the kitchen. So the action step for March is to organize the baby food stuff. All right, those are the one-time steps. Let's move in to the weekly steps. I am not the greatest at weekly steps. I've talked about that before, but I wanted to use my weekly section as either a breakdown of my monthly or it's a summary of my daily. So these weekly steps are not standalone on their own. It is meant to be an additional progress tracker of other goals. So the first one is to do one monthly task. So my overarching monthly goal is to do 10. And then my smaller goal of that is to do at least one per week. And I know what you're thinking, Laken, if you only do one per week, that's only 5, not 10. I understand. Ultimately, the goal would be to do more than one per week, but I want to do at least one per week. That way I'm not getting to the last week and being like, oh, now I need to do all 10 to hit my goal. Even if I only do one, then the last week I'm stuck doing 6, which birthday week, I don't know if I want to have to do 6 monthly tasks. So I would like to do more than one, but I'm keeping it small on the weekly section and making it my goal to do 1. I've done this kind of thing before where like the breakdown is a smaller number than the total is a bigger number, but I've done it from daily to weekly. I did it with steps. So for example, I would set a step goal where my minimum per day was to get 5,000 steps. And that was pushing myself a little bit from like my baseline, but then my weekly goal was to get 50,000, which is about 7,000 on average per day. But I didn't want to set 7,000 per day because that would be really hard on some days that I didn't have as much energy or I was feeling, or I had other commitments or whatever else I had going on. But there were likely some days that I could push myself and do more. And that's how I'm tackling this. There's a week that we have company coming. Sam's brother and sister are going to be here for 4 days over like a long weekend. I am likely only going to do one weekly or one monthly task that week. But then the next weekend when we don't have any company, I don't have any other plans, not that plans won't pop up, right? That's the story of February, where I could do more than 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't even need to average 3 per week. I need to average 2 per week to get myself to the end, but every week is going to look different. So I feel like I'm potentially, again, over-explaining. It's the theme of this video, but that is why I have 1 monthly task per week, but then 10 for the entire month. All right, the next 2 action steps, 1 weekly and 1 daily, are kind of new goals. They're not part of the quarterly goals, but while I was working on the monthly tasks, I realized there's also weekly tasks. And originally I was gonna tackle them separately, but I thought, you know what? No, I'm gonna try to tackle them together because I've been doing some of the weekly tasks. So I want to keep up that momentum. So I added weekly tasks into my March goals. So this is going a little bit above and beyond. So we'll see. I may be pushing myself a little bit too much, but my goal, I forget how many there are. Let me pull it up. I have the list, both of them on my phone. That's where I keep the list. So I've got my weekly tasks and then I've got my monthly tasks. So weekly I have 1, 12, 13, I have 13. That's a lot. My goal is to do 5. Only 5. If I can do 5 of these things, that I will feel on top of it. And I would say I do probably 4 of these pretty consistently every week. Watering the plants, that one I was already doing before. Running the Roomba, I've been pretty good at that. And some of these are actually duplicates. Like I have running the Roomba on here twice, but I have 14 total tasks. My goal is to do in March at least 5 of them. And that I'm just start making progress and start making momentum. So that is the weekly action step, is to do at least 5. But I'm also going to track that in the daily section. Am I going to be trying to do a weekly thing every single day? I know I feel like there's a lot of words, weekly, monthly overlapping here. No, I'm not going to try to do it every single day. That is unrealistic. I don't have it in the daily section as something to do every single day. I have it in the daily section so that I can see the progress on the days that I do it. So let's say the first week, I started talking and giving an example, and I just realized that I could only do 4 days, but still get my weekly check mark if I doubled up. But that's okay. It still doesn't defeat the purpose. Maybe what I'll do is on the weekly task one, I'll actually just write how many I did that day as opposed to a check mark. Maybe I'll do it that way. And then if the total is at least 5, then I get the check mark. We'll see. I'm tracking this in a new way that I haven't ever tracked something before, but I helped my sister figure out a way to do something similar with her goals, and it's working really well for her, so I wanted to try it with one of my goals. She was doing it this way for working out. So in the weekly section, she had work out X number of times, and then in the daily section, she was tracking each day that she worked out, knowing that she wasn't going to do it every single day, and there were going to be days that she skipped because nobody's trying to work out every single day. I mean, maybe you are, but most of us are not. But she could see the total. And so even if she didn't get the check mark in the weekly section, she could see the progress. That's what was my intention, was even if I don't hit 5 to get the weekly check mark, I could see the progress I'm making in the daily section. And that will be true whether I decide to do it with a check mark or a number. All right, the next daily item is just carryover from last month, and that is to read nonfiction. Even though I did a pretty good job, it was the one that I didn't feel as confident in, and I definitely had moments that if it wasn't something I was gonna get a check mark for on my goal planner, I was going to skip it. So I wanted to keep it in March for sure to keep working on it. And then the last daily action item is to work on December daily. Just like the weekly task, this is not something that I'm expecting myself to do every single day. And in fact, I don't need to work on it every single day in order to finish. I have 14 days left in December daily, plus a bonus page that I wanna work on. So really I need to do it 15 days, 15 out of 31. That is very feasible. Like I can absolutely do that. And so I wanted to have a place where I could track and see the progress that I'm making and give me something to check off. Now, did I make a little breakdown sheet? Yes, I did. So there is some place to check it off. But for whatever reason, this piece of paper is my accountability friend. So I wanted a place on there. So when I work on December daily, I'm going to check it off that I worked on it that day. Again, I am not trying to work on it every single day in the month of March, but I'm trying to work on it enough that I will be able to finish it. The other reason I did it this way is I realized shorter spurts is better. I definitely experienced that working when I did the kitchen organizing, that doing it in 10 to 15 minute increments helped me get through the whole kitchen in the month of January. And so I don't know why I had the thought that for December daily, like when I scheduled it in February, I scheduled 3 1-hour chunks each week. That was how I was gonna work on it. 1-hour chunks that's not how I'm gonna spend my 1-hour chunks, truthfully. So that just was not the option for me. I am gonna be better off if I do a 10 to 15 minute chunk, which is about how long it takes me to do any given day, is 10 to 15 minutes. And if I can do that 15 of the days in March, then I will finish. So even though, like I said at the very beginning of this video, putting finish may have set me up for failure in February, it could also have been that I didn't break it down well enough. So in March, I did put the word finish, and hopefully I will finish it, but then I have a second place that I'm tracking and seeing that progress and holding myself accountable. So those are my monthly goals for March, which, looking at that, like, it definitely is different. I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone a little bit with the monthly tasks and the weekly tasks being tracked in 2 places. I think it's pushing myself a little bit compared to what I did in January and February, but I also feel so good about January and February that I'm hoping that carries me through March. So those are my goals for March. I want you to let me know down in the comments what is one goal that you have set for March that you are very excited about. And if you haven't set March goals, I don't care what day you're watching this video, it is not too late to set goals for March. Pick something that you want to focus on and prioritize it. Keep making progress. Remember, small progress is still progress. You do not have to be making giant leaps to keep making progress on your goals throughout the year. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. I said this, so I actually, hang on. The next weekly, I don't know why I just clicked my mouth like that. Going, oh, there's like a kitty outside. that is, I don't want to use the word should. Set goals for Mark. Mark,